Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and thank you for tuning in to Canal Algérie's nightly news. Here are tonight's top stories. The President of the Republic chairs a ceremony to honor the best exporters and encourage them to attain the set objectives. The head of the National Independent Authority for Election announces the 3 candidates meeting the requirements for the upcoming presidential elections of September the 7th. Algeria denounces the French decision to endorse Morocco's autonomy plan for Western Sahara. And the 2024 Olympic Games kick off tomorrow with 46 Algerian athletes taking part in this mega sporting event. Welcome back. We begin with tonight's main story as the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, chaired here in Algiers a ceremony meant to honor the best exporters. The event, held under the motto Commitment, Achievements and Prospects, was attended by senior state officials and prominent economic operators. The roundup in Misa Kebash's report.
President of the Republic Abdelmajid Tebboune chaired the ceremony of the second edition of the President of the Republic's Award for the Best Exporter, held under the motto Commitment, Achievement, Perspectives. Present at the ceremony, senior state officials, members of the government, representatives of professional associations, and heads of both public and private enterprises.
رئيس الجمهورية
The event's main objective is to honor the best exporters in different fields of production and services selected by the jury, composed of ministerial departments and institutions relating to the promotion of exports. The head of state supervised the award ceremony, during which he honored the best exporters and their work by encouraging them to pursue their efforts so as to achieve the set objectives within the framework of a new approach. This economic event was organized by the Trade Ministry in the presence of President of the Council of Nations, Saleh Goujil, Speaker of the People's National Assembly, Ibrahim Boughali, and Prime Minister Nader Al-Arbawi.
وبالرغم من الإكراهات التي واجهتها بلادنا.
During the ceremony, President Tebboune affirmed that despite the pandemic that hit the world, our country managed to overcome the hindrances we faced, adding that thanks to the implementation and mobilization of all means, Algeria achieved an increase rate of 4.2% and a gross domestic product of $260 billion, while the exchange reserve reached $70 billion.
إلى المرتبة الثالثة إفريقيا مع ارتفاع احتياط الصرف إلى $70 مليار.
The head of state also affirmed that the authorization granted to exporters to access the improvement system allowed them to increase the volume of their exports, hailing the efforts of our youth in the creation of enterprises that will contribute to the creation of wealth and job positions.
كل شبابنا والشابات على ما يقومون به من خلق مؤسسات ناشئة لستارت اب اللي اليوم تعد بالآلاف والمناصب الشغل اللي راهم يخلقوها الشباب بنفسهم لنفوسهم والآخرين تعد بالآلاف كذلك.
Awards were granted to 6 companies operating in different sectors, including Toshiali and Khadis, the Algerian Qatari company, and Alteo Energy. The award destined to the best female exporter was won by the owner of Tolkwat Al Baraka Society.
عادت لشركة ذات الأسهم الجزائرية القطرية للصلب في فئة جائزة أفضل مصدر شاب. عادت شهادة التقدير لمؤسسة ألتيو إنرجي مصدرة امرأة، فقد عادت لمؤسسة طولغا البركة شخصية من السيد رئيس الجمهورية قررت منح شهادات شرفية تشجيعية تعود الأولى لشركة.
3 other awards were granted by the President to Hekma Pharma, Orjuana and oil mill Duzelagen.
شهادة الأرجوانة للتمور ممثلة بالسيد سمير هلال، معصرة أوزلاغن ممثلة.
After that, the President of the Republic visited the exhibition that gathered the different productions of leading enterprises in the field of export who recorded significant figures. Trade Minister Tayyip Zitouni indicated for his part as well the impressive figures achieved by our country in the field of exports outside hydrocarbons.
The current indicators show that our country succeeded in the field of exports outside hydrocarbons by achieving unprecedented figures, namely $7 billion, which is a positive indicator. The exterior global trade policy aims to reach $29 billion by 2030, an objective that could only be attained via a global roadmap.
شعبة بشعبة ومادة بمادة مع
For his part, the president of the Algerian Economic Renewal Council, Canal underlined the importance of exports outside hydrocarbons for Algeria and the new economic opportunities at the level of the international scene.
Exports outside the hydrocarbon sector are not merely a trade objective. They represent as well a positive image of the new Algeria by consolidating the ties with our national communities settled abroad and attracting foreign investors, a strategy meant to conquer the European market. We have reached the United States, Canada and Libya during over the past 3 months, and we are proud of the results achieved so far by several companies.
في الثلاث الأشهر الأخيرة ونفتخر بعودة بعض الشركات والكثير منها.
The laureates expressed their joy and pride regarding the ceremony, considering it a mean to further encourage and boost investors and exporters to redouble efforts and promote furthermore this field.
Algeria is indeed committed to an export-focused economic strategy. The highest authorities have implemented facilitation measures to ease exporters' access to international markets. The goal is to achieve $30 billion in non-hydrocarbon exports by 2030. Min Al-Maafa explains.
Export was at the focus of Algeria's economic strategy, aiming to diversify revenue sources and enhance competitiveness of national companies. Aware of the challenges and stakes, the authorities have implemented financial, fiscal, and customs facilitation measures to support exporters and ease their access to international markets. Generally speaking, the business climate for exporting is favorable, with numerous facilitation measures offered by the government through various agencies. For example, the Export Promotion Fund under the Ministry of Trade covers transportation costs and participation in international trade fairs. Algeria, once a major importer of various products such as construction materials, food products, cement and ceramics, has now become one of the leading exporters of these same materials. This shift underscores the imperative of preserving these gains while working to fully exploit the country's advantages.
We have strength and comparative advantages in terms of production costs and the facilitation measures provided by the authorities, particularly financial assistance through the Export Promotion Fund, which offers benefits to operators. There are also VAT exemptions as well as customs facilitations. All these facilitations provide even more advantages to the Algerian operators.
Increasing non-hydrocarbon exports to $30 billion by 2030 is an achievable goal, contingent on creating a business climate that encourages local and foreign investors to diversify industrial and agricultural production. Economic operators are urged to seize the available opportunities to position themselves in external markets, particularly across Africa. With these efforts, Algeria aims to significantly bolster its economic presence on the global stage.
Ahead of the elections of September the 7th, the head of ANI, Mohamed Shorfi, announced today the preliminary list of candidates whose files fulfill the regulatory requirements. 3 files were accepted and 13 others were rejected. The preliminary list includes Abdelmajid Tebboune, Youssef Aouchichi, and Abdelali Hassani Sharif. During the press conference, Mohamed Shorfi indicated that 2,664 notaries and bailiffs were mobilized for the success of this operation, as well as the adoption of a new model in granting subscription forms of individual signatures for candidates to the presidency. On the same occasion, Mohamed Shorfi affirmed that 4,903 units were ready on the level of municipalities and ANI structures, adding that 35 candidates withdrew 4.5 million forms devoted to voters and 90,000 for the elected, adding that the processing of files was carried out with absolute transparency as stipulated by law. This morning, files for the candidacy to the presidential elections were transferred to the headquarters of the Constitutional Court, concluding by this the end of a step of the electoral process. The transfer was conducted pursuant to legal dispositions. The convoy was secured by the different security forces and state services. The presidential elections are being followed closely by citizens, expecting more progress and development likely to improve their daily life. Therefore, they urge the electorate to head for the polling stations to vote and elect the right president for the current situation. Ines Kilo.
Preparations for the presidential elections on September 7th are well underway. This event is attracting the interest of the Algerian citizens as well as our nationals established abroad. Algerians are taking an active part in the electoral process in the sense that they are investing heavily in this major event.
Elections denote the attachment of citizens to their country. I call on all citizens, men and women, to go to the polls. That's how we fulfill our duty and display our patriotism.
Throughout the media, citizens are following the electoral process and its preparations, as well as the political figures who have put themselves forward as candidates. They will have to elect the person who meet their aspirations.
We expect from the future president of Algeria to take care of citizens, including women and job seekers throughout the country, especially the grey zones. We encourage anyone willing to serve our country.
These are some of the feelings displayed by citizens who are attached to their country and willing to counter allegations that a rift exists between them and the state. The forthcoming presidential elections denote the important role played by Algerian citizens in the country's political life, both at home and abroad, since the Algerian community living abroad is also keeping a watchful eye on the elections, aware of their importance to the country's stability.
Let's hope that all Algerians will be present on September the 7th to elect the next president of the Republic. We'll be all there through New Algeria.
All the human and material resources are being mobilized to ensure the smooth running of this major event.
On to this communiqué by the MFA, which reads, the Algerian government takes note with great regret and strong denunciation of the unexpected, unsuccessful and useless decision taken by the French government to provide explicit and unambiguous support for the autonomy plan for the territory of Western Sahara within the framework of alleged Moroccan sovereignty. The Algerian authorities were previously informed of the content of this decision by their French counterparts in recent days. It seems that the colonial powers, both ancient and modern, know how to get along with each other, how to understand each other, and how to extend a helping hand to each other. It is clear that the French decision is the outcome of suspicious political calculations, unethical assumptions, and legal readings that are not based on any sound foundations that support or justify them. This French decision does not help nor provide the conditions necessary for a peaceful settlement of the Western Sahara issue. Rather, more than that, it directly contributes in exacerbating the state of blockade and strangling and stagnation that was specifically created by the Moroccan autonomy plan for more than 17 years. Moreover, although the international community has long been convinced that the Western Sahara issue undoubtedly represents an integral part of the process of decolonization that should be completed in the best possible way. The same French decision seeks to distort and falsify the facts by supporting a colonial reality and providing unjustified support for Morocco's alleged and imaginary sovereignty over the territory of Western Sahara, issued by a permanent member of the Security Council that is supposed to act in accordance with the decisions of this body, in particular in accordance with international legitimacy. In general, finally, at a time when the United Nations is mobilizing its good offices to give a new impetus to the process of searching for political settlement to the conflict in Western Sahara, the French decision contradicts these efforts and obstructs their implementation. It goes against the higher interests of peace, security, and stability in the region. The Algerian government notes that the French decision does in no way serve the goals of peace in Western Sahara and prolongs the stagnation of the political process to resolve this issue and contributes to the perpetuation of the colonial fait accompli in this region. Accordingly, the Algerian government will draw all results and consequences resulting from this French decision and hold the French government alone, fully and completely responsible for it. End quote. We are less than 24 hours before the opening ceremony of the Paris Olympic Games. 29 out of 46 Algerian athletes will be on stage paraded in traditional dresses to reflect Algerian culture before the eyes of members of our local community, who will be among 300,000 spectators expected on the banks of the Seine. Ines Killo reports.
This is the first time in the history of the Olympic Games that the opening ceremony will not be held in a stadium. Everything will start this Friday, July 26, from 6:30 p.m., where more than 10,000 athletes will parade along the Seine River on a 6-kilometer course. They will be aboard 94 boats, and the start will be given from the Austerlitz Bridge, and as the tradition dictates, it is the Greek delegation to parade first. The other countries will take their turn in an alphabetic order, with an exception of the organizing country, which will bring up the rear with an arrival expected around 11 p.m. It will be dark all along the way, and participants and the 300,000 spectators will be treated to projections, light shows, and special effects. Of course, the Algerian flag will also be present at the ceremony with 46 athletes, but only 29 will have the privilege of taking part in this ceremony. Yasser Driki and Amina Belqadi will be Algeria's flag bearers, and 73% of the Algerian athletes will be experiencing the Olympic Games for the first time in this global event. Another highlight will be the tradition dress of the Algerians, a living symbol of Algeria's rich culture and history. The presence of the Algerian athletes in traditional dress at the opening ceremony will send a strong message of national pride and respect for tradition, highlighting Algeria's unique identity. Without forgetting the Algerian community, who will be present in a large numbers to support the Algerian athletes with enthusiasm and fervor, proudly waving their national colors from the stands of the stage, a sadly famous place of the Algerian Revolution. Displaying patriotism will boost the morale of our representatives, inspiring them to give their best, all to honor Algeria and hoist the national flag while sticking the noble Olympic values.
Best of luck to our champions. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.